Hello, this is Elliot from the Swine Brothers doing a solo hangout because no one in the Swine Brothers could be bothered to do it. Also, I don't think Jim likes racing all that much. So, here it goes. There's been a sort of controversy boiling at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the past year about guaranteeing full time IndyCar teams a starting position in the Indy 500. Now, this all sort of boiled over due to James Hinchcliffe's exploits last year. If you don't remember James Hinchcliffe, they have a rule: bump days the first day at Indy, and then pull days the second. I believe that's changed now. Now I don't know if this uh, ruling was done following many bouts of drinking and drugs, but personally I wouldn't be surprised because I'm not a fan of it, and it makes no sense because I thought bumping was the whole, you have the weekend or the 2 weeks back in the day to get in, and you didn't get in, and here's your last chance, rather than you get one chance. You know, idiocy. Anyway, he didn't get in. They had some car problems. It rained, and then in the last moment, Pippa Mann decided to be irrelevant and attempt to get in. I mean, no disrespect to Pippa Mann. She seems like a very nice person, but she had no chance of getting in. And if she did, she would have been a moving chicane. Sorry, it's the harsh fact. So Hinchcliffe was caught out. The gun went off before he could do his thing. So there have been plenty of voices. Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi, and Michael Andretti. The big three. Robin Miller, who I thought would be against this, is actually for this, and David Land, who is a YouTube celebrity, well, YouTube racing celebrity, so he's uh, he's against this idea. I'm conflicted. On one hand, I love things like drag racing. Okay, I love the NHRA. It's a great sport, but also you can be a Ron Capps or a John Force or a Tony Schumacher and fail to make the show if there are more than 16 cars. I think it was one race where Ron Capps won the previous race and then failed to qualify for the next one. That was awesome. I mean, it sucked for him, and I like Ron Capps, but that's awesome that it could even happen. You'll never see that in NASCAR. You'll never see that in NASCAR now that there's like 36 cars, but still, you'll never see that in NASCAR because they had the top 35 rule and shit like that. So it's it's complicated. So on one hand, I like that. On the other hand, it's very hard to find sponsorship these days. It's hard to maintain sponsorship. We probably live in one of the worst periods of you know trying to find a sponsor for racing, at least in IndyCar and in NASCAR. Look at Target, exiting Chip Ganassi, and Lowe's exiting NASCAR altogether. I mean, people forget that even before Jimmy Johnson, yes, Junior Johnson in the Lowe's car. Get it together, dude. People forget that before Jimmy Johnson, it was Mike Skinner with a 31 Lowe's car. Of course, they also had Adrian Fernandez in the Acura as well in LMS. They exited, and luckily they were able to find replacement sponsors. But still, his Robin's point, and one I sort of share, is what's going to happen if PFC Bank or whatever doesn't make in the Indy 500 with Scott Dixon. Are they going to say, "Well, don't worry, we're going to get it next year"? Well, now we're not on the starting grid Sunday, so I think we'll go somewhere a little less risky, like sponsoring. I don't know, something else. So NASCAR, where you're guaranteed to get into the field. So as much as I hate that, as much as I want the fastest 33 to be a thing, if that's what it takes to get sponsors, then so be it. This isn't the first time, of course, that we've had monkeying with the rules like this. Of course, in '96, there was the 25-8 rule, which was put up the top 25 in points in IRL points after the in '96 was the first two, '97 was the first four races were guaranteed. Yeah, four where it was guaranteed a starting position in the Indy 500. This is owner points, not drivers' points, provided they met a minimum average speed, which was, I believe, like 220 miles an hour or something like that in '96. I'm not sure what it was in '97, although given the fact that most of the cars could go about 5 miles an hour, it couldn't be that fast. Anyway, um, the reason Tony George did this back in the mid '90s was so that he could get a decent turnouts for Phoenix and Walt Disney World, the two first IRL races, the Disney World Phoenix, first two IRL races of the year. He didn't just want six cars uh, at those two races, and they got 20 cars at Disney World. I know, remember that, and I know they got like 22 or 23 at Phoenix. Although I don't have the entry list in front of me, I'm sorry, I have failed you all. For Indy, it was simple. They didn't want kart cars to dominate. They didn't want the first 27 spots going to kart cars, and then all the Indy regulars fight out for the last six positions in the field. So they did that. So they made the 25-8 rule. And in '97, there was controversy because I believe two cars were within the fastest 33, but were bumped out by guaranteed cars that were not in the fastest 33. Now they could have just changed the rule. Well, they could have done a lot of things. I believe it was Lynn St. James and one of the unsers. Although I don't remember which unser it was. Maybe Johnny or Ravi or one of the unsers who never did anything. Anyway, they were allowed to compete, and it was extended to 30. The field was extended to 35 cars for the first time since 1979. Why couldn't they have done that last year? I mean, there were only 33 cars. It wouldn't have cost them anything to put Man and Hinge in the field. Um, I don't know. But nowadays, talking about sponsorship, like I said, it's hard to get and maintain sponsors. And Land was talking about indie only teams. Yes, indie only teams have to rely on sponsorship as well, but that's for one race. You think that, I mean, and yeah, I guarantee you there's a bit of risk and some money involved, but I believe it's a lot harder to nail down sponsorship for for a full season than a race. There's a lot of commitments. There's much more money that's involved. Um, David Land also talks about why they want to monkey with the only race that actually makes the money, because other races do not. Although I'd say maybe Long Beach does, but I don't know. I'm not a businessman. Duh. But my response is that they want to be in the race to make money. If they're not in the race, they're not going to make money. And then you have Roger Penske funding Ryan Briscoe's car out of his own pocket. He did that for a couple of years, I believe. So it's complicated. I mean, there's no cut and dry answer. As much as I'd like the fastest 33 to be involved, I also realize that we live in an age where if sponsors aren't at Indy, they're gonna go somewhere else. If they don't see their name at Indy, why should they? Oh boy, I wanted Iowa. Oh boy, I wanted Texas or or Mid Ohio. I'd like the Dragon Mid Ohio, but still, it's but Indy's the only track other than Long Beach with actually some prestige, unfortunately. So you've got to remember that. As far as he also mentions NASCAR, and David Land apparently has been watching motorsport for longer than 5 minutes, so it's funny the things he gets wrong. He claims that NASCAR's decline is because they put all their eggs in the Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon basket, and whenever they retired, they had no one to replace, which is maybe a little bit true, but That's not NASCAR's decline. NASCAR's decline was caused by a couple things. First off, we have NASCAR's rise. NASCAR's rise was in part based on trendy Hollywood people who, or just regular people who read about it in, I don't know, Oprah or some shit, and they heard about this new sport called NASCAR. Wow. And they go really fast around in circles. Let's check it out. And they may have latched onto it, maybe rooted for a driver or whatever, maybe gone to a few races, maybe watched it, on TV, although probably not a full race because, those races are long, and maybe they bought some NASCAR apparel and took their kids to the race a couple times. But the years went by and they latched on to whatever society dictates the next trend will be. Game of Thrones, I guess. I don't know. Um, so that's partially NASCAR's decline, just trend people getting out of the trend, and that's to be expected. Another part of NASCAR's decline is, quite frankly, they're pricing themselves out of the market. Look at Bristol. I mean, would you pay for what was it, like $300 a night to stay at Bristol? I wouldn't pay that much. I mean, I wouldn't mind going to Bristol, but so there's a lot of reasons for the decline of NASCAR. I don't believe that putting all the eggs in a couple drivers' baskets was one of them. Sorry, Davey. Um, but that's neither here nor there. It's like I said, it's complicated because you want the big stars in the biggest race, right? You want the you want the Penskes and the Ganassies. On the other hand, there's also things like '95, which was a very interesting story when the Penske cars did not make the race because they had shit cars. So it's there's no easy solution. There's it's like I said. I'm if this is what it takes to keep sponsors, then fine. I'll grudgingly support it. Well, not support it, but just whatever. Um, it's moot this year because they're not going to actually change qualifying for uh, this year. So I don't even know why we're even talking about it, but whatever. So David Land, you're wrong. Robin Miller, you're sort of right. Although, like I said, it's I'm very conflicted because I want as if I want the fast. I mean, maybe we should do like so somebody had an idea to make guaranteed starting positions, and if someone is in the fastest 33 and isn't a guaranteed starting position but did not make it, then they can race, sort of like how they do in sprint cars, or where they'll have provisionals and extra cars on the grid, or just make it like a Le Mans, make it an invitation race. Who knows? Probably not enough cars for that. uh I mean, qualifying still isn't very interesting. When's the last time you actually watched IndyCar qualifying? I only watched the end of it last year because we were in a hotel room in Sacramento. There's nothing else to watch. So, I mean, when's the last time there's been real drama on bump day other than Hinchcliffe? There, 95 maybe, 98. Billy Bogue qualified a backup car on the pole, but who cares? So I also agree with Robin Miller. They've pretty much dynamited every other tradition. In qualifying's a day, practice is what, 4 days now, and yeah, they pretty much there's not a whole lot of cars vying for those last few positions, so I don't think it's really going to change much. I mean, I've heard 38 cars on the entry list for the 500. I haven't seen the entry list yet, but that'll be the most since about 2004, maybe. Definitely the most since the merger. Anyway, so just a few thoughts that I had. I need to get back into practice. I need to make videos more and need to sort of streamline it. So I'm sort of using this as a test bed. More videos will come. I will not be silenced, and we'll be doing a party thing on June whatever the four-year anniversary of this channel is. Yes, it's actually been going on for 4 years. We You always wanted us to die, and we said no. So we'll see about new shows, new projects are always in the pipeline. And if you want to co-host a racing show, get in touch. Cosmicgodsdie@gmail.com. All right, kids. See you later. Drive safe. Actually, don't drive at all. All right. I don't hold those little bastards for another. Oh shit, we're on.